Hello, I'm Richard Hooper and this is SatTV Week. Now I'm pleased to be joined by Stephen Eisele of Virgin Orbit. Stephen, thank you for joining me today. Now please tell me about the demands of the small satellite market.
Absolutely. So the small satellite market is an evolving market that involves satellites roughly under 500 kilogram range, and they need to get to space. And because the size of the satellites themselves have shrunk so much, the costs have come down primarily. And since the costs come down, there's now more of a business case for space and using small satellites in low Earth orbit in particular to derive data needs and provide other mission applications. So what these small satellites need, number one, they need regular and reliable access to space. And two, of course, they need a needed technology in order to downlink to the customers. And three, they need to be able to sustain their business case. And so that means that you have to regularly replace and replenish the satellites on orbit.
Key question though, why choose Launcher 1 over established launchers?
Absolutely. So Launcher 1, we bill it as the world's most flexible launch system. And what we mean by that is because we utilize an air launch system, so a Boeing 747-400 to launch a two-stage rocket to get small satellites to low Earth orbit, we have uncanny flexibility in the launch system itself. This means that we can take your satellite to any orbit and inclination. We have a much more rapid cadence capability. So unlike some of the ground launch vehicles that are tied to big launch pads, have large range security requirements and take some longer preparation, we operate more like aircraft-like operations. So in fact, it's actually quite smoother. We can turn around a launch in a day or less, in fact. And in addition to that, at Virgin Orbit, we're building up our factory, our manufacturing capabilities to actually, our rocket itself is pretty low cost, and it's a pretty simple system in itself. It's LOX-RP, and so being able to build a high rate of rockets, having a high rate of throughput in our factory means that you have a lot of schedule flexibility as well as opportunities to get your payload to space. And then the final kind of key issue with air launch is because we can really take off from any spaceport in the world. Our satellites, we can launch from a lot of different points, and we can launch practically on demand, and that is known as a responsive launch capability. And so, with a responsive launch, if a customer needs a satellite on orbit quickly, because of a national security threat, there's a natural disaster, or maybe they have a commercial constellation and they have an unplanned outage in space, then being able to replace and replenish that quickly is going to become a necessity for the future of the small satellite market. And that's why air launch offers so many different options than regular ground launch vehicles.
Now you are one of the few companies pursuing air launch. How difficult is it to convince the market that air launch is the future?
Well, I think air launch is definitely the future, but it's also a complementary piece to the ground launch vehicles. For certain customers and satellite providers, a ground launch vehicle can suit their needs. But when you have very specific orbit and inclination requirements, LTAN requirements, as well as operational needs in order to get things up quickly, then air launch can be a better solution. It's a great solution for governments that want to also control their own launch environment, so we can launch from many spaceports around the world, and it's a great launch for our commercial customer partners who have need that dedicated launch on their schedule. Otherwise, they may be waiting a long time for a ground launch vehicle.
Now, it's been one long journey to get here, but what have been the key turning points for Virgin Orbit?
It's been a long journey, but I think in the grand scheme of things, in terms of our development, we're on par with other launch vehicles themselves. So Virgin Orbit started under the Virgin Galactic banner, and we've currently stood up as a separate company in 2017, and we're charging forward. So the journey has been, I think, steady. We've been constantly moving forward. We're constantly looking at how we can, gain an edge in the market, be competitive, and while maintaining our strength, which is, our core competency, being an air launch provider, providing that flexible solution.
So, looking forward, next 12 months, what are the key performance indicators for you moving forward?
Well, the next 12 months are going to be incredibly exciting. It is the year that we start regular commercial launches and offer our launch service to the market. So, we're really focused on ramping up our launch cadence. We're focused on understanding better, the launch environments and, how to successfully get a launch off the ground, of course, and then, starting the next year, so past 12 months going forward, we're looking forward to delivering launches, 1 to 2 times or more a month. And that high cadence is going to be a real, game changer in the market.
Well, interesting times, and we look forward to talking to you again in the future.
I appreciate it, and we look forward to launching the Small Satellite Revolution.